Guys, this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. The next time you're looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup, you've got to go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com. Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. Whether you're looking for basics, elites, or ultimates, Wrestling Collector Shop should be your first stop the next time you're looking for wrestling figures. So make sure to go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code SWOGGLE to save yourself 10% on your order. Again, that's 10% off with code SWOGGLE only at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. Hey guys, once again, another episode of Going Postl. I am Dylan, star of Muppets Most Wanted, Money in the Bank poster, star, author, entertainer, decent ass biter, an all-around good guy. And that's George.
Today, we are doing part 2 of 3MB. We will be covering all things WeeLC. Now, if you are listening to this on the day that it is released, it is currently May 1st, which means on Saturday, the 4th, it is the 10-year anniversary of this man, Dylan Postl, and El Torito going to war in WeeLC, which is part of what we're going to be covering today. But before we go any further, this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. Use code SWOGGLE to save 10% on Mattel Basics, Elites, Ultimates, Major Bendies, and a whole lot more over at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. Man, oh man, are you ready to dive in? Because
this is easily like the time I talk. This for sure is the thing I talk about most of my career is the WeeLC era, and I went over it so much, like it's very repetitive, but
you're on record that this is still your favorite match of all time that you've done.
Yeah, for sure.
Does it ever get tired of talking about it?
I get tired of talking, period. I think I'm a podcaster.
I was going to say, old Two Pods Postl over here doesn't like talking anymore now.
But no, so I think that's the one thing that doesn't get tiresome talking about is because I love the match and I'm so proud of the match and I'm so like just all around happy with it. And it's one of those things like, I have a lot of pride for it, so I'm okay talking about it still. It's not like the old, who got you into the business, brother? How did you start out? Like that bullshit. I'm so sick of it. I'm very grateful that people still want to interview me. I'm very, very grateful. But it's like, that's why I try to do the small talks. It's like, I don't want the same old song and dance. I want it to be fun. I want it to be different. But this is definitely the thing I enjoy talking about more than any other match in my career. And like, but then Payback too. It's like that match was incredible, but I've never watched that. I've watched that one back once. I've now watched WeeLC top to bottom maybe 5 times, and that's pushing it. But like, that's a lot. For me, that's a lot.
Well, before we go any further, we want to remind everyone, you can go and follow Dylan on all forms of social media at Dylan Postl. You can follow this podcast at Going Postl Pod, youtube.com/Dylan Postl, DylanPostl.com for all things Swoggle, ProWrestlingTees.com/Swoggle, and SwoggleAuction.com. Get yourself a free $10 credit over on Whatnot and be a part of Swoggle's monthly auctions. The last one that you did, pretty big.
We had a big one. We had a really, really big one. It was a ton of fun. Landon put together the lineup, and he just put out banger after banger. and we have stuff in the tote currently for the next one, and then it'll be like the Wrestling Con whatnot, because Water City Wrestling Con is next week already. And
Damn.
it's like we're currently peek behind the curtain. We're recording this early because Landon and I are currently at Disney World and having a blast and getting sunburned. Having a blast. And then we come back, and 3 days later after we get back is Water City Wrestling Con. So it's a busy time of the year.
I say it's hell of a booking you put yourself through here.
I do this every time. the one time it was, we had Wrestling Con Saturday. I had like a day off Sunday, and then we left for Disney Monday, and it was even crazier. It was just so worn out, but I love it. I love it.
Are you ready to jump into all things 3MB?
Let's do it, part 2. Are you a fan of Disney, Pixar, Jurassic Park, The Office, or even WWE? Or maybe you just want a sleek and comfortable patterned shirt? Then you need to check out Roosevelts.com. RSVLTS.com today. Roosevelts makes the most eye-catching and comfortable shirts going today. Whether it's button-ups or polos or hoodies or even hats and everything in between, Roosevelt's truly has something for everyone. Made for those with the love of sports, pop culture, and so much more. And above all else, having a kick-ass time. This clothing is for the bold and fun, for those who dare mighty things. Roosevelts.com. Check them out.
May 4th, 2014.
May the 4th.
WWE Extreme Rules from the Izod Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey. There are 15,907 people in attendance and countless others watching on the WWE Network, which is...
God, I miss the WWE Network.
It is like, plugged a lot during this pre-show.
I miss it so much. I miss the network. Like, Peacock is great, and I get it, and they're spending a lot of money, and I it's awesome. Man, the ease of access that the network was, the ease, how it was so easy to search. Guys, wrestling isn't in seasons. Let's be honest. Stop. It's not season 1 of WrestleMania. Bullshit. I hate it. I hate that there's no chapters anymore. It's very hard to search. I don't like it.
Well, isn't it like going to Netflix now, and that'll be a new thing?
I don't know if the library is. I thought just Raw. I think just Raw. But
can you imagine though if ever suddenly like all WWE was just like on Netflix?
It's gonna be crazy. We're up for like the craziest time in streaming and wrestling streaming. But man, I say it all the time. We were so spoiled with the network. It was so easy, and we were just spoiled.
Let's run down the card here for this pay-per-view. You opened the show. We're going to talk about that a little later. You've got Cesaro defeating RVD and Jack Swagger in a triple threat elimination match. You've got Rusev defeating R-Truth and Xavier Woods. You've got Bad News Barrett defeating Big E for the Intercontinental title. The Shield defeats Evolution. Bray Wyatt defeats John Cena in a cage match. Paige defeats Tamina Snuka in a Divas Championship match. In the main event, Daniel Bryan defeats Kane in an Extreme Rules match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
I have zero recollection of any other match on that show.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. Because I know that you have no clue what else was on this on the card.
We'll talk about that later in the aftermath of the match and that. But
so you guys were originally supposed to be on the main card.
So we were supposed to be on the main card, and then I found out the week of it was going to be pre-show, and I was so pissed off. I was so mad. Because I was like, man, they're bumping us to the pre-show. What? Like, it's so stupid. It just pissed me off because I was like, whatever. But in all reality, at that point and in those times, it was all the same because it wasn't like we weren't going to be on the show. We were still on the show. We were just on YouTube on the show or the network on the show, like beforehand. So it didn't matter in reality. it irritated me that like during the match twice, at least once, I think twice during the match, we had to have commercial breaks. It was a really, really weird moment for a pay-per-view match to have to like plan out, because when you're planning the match, you have to plan out for commercial break. And it sucked, but whatever. I remember going into it that day, and we all got to the arena at like, I think it was like 10 or 11 in the morning, so we could play around and see what we had to play with. And planning the match, I think the thing that stands out the most was Drew McIntyre just literally going, I want to do a flip to the outside through a table. He goes, yeah, I just want to do it for no reason. And we, at that point, we all had the mindset of, if they're not going to use us, we're going to blow this out of the water. And everyone thought that, especially the 3MB guys, especially because I think in the end, they felt second fiddle to Torito and I in the whole thing, which I understand completely. But then it comes to the point where it's like they want a spotlight as well, and all of that, and they wanted to stand out in the match. And man, did they ever! All three of them, we're going to get into it, kind of thing, and talk more about it. But it was our goal to. I say it all the time. It was our goal to shove it up everyone's ass, and it really, really was. And we knew how many people were like going to take it as a joke, and our biggest thing was, we're not going to treat it that way, even though. And that was also the point where I got frustrated that day, and that, talking it through, because they kept saying, we got to give Vince what he wants while still doing what we want, but we got to give him some haha, because like I talked about last episode, we had a shitty match on SmackDown, and because we tried to wrestle too much, and he very politely said, God damn it, no one wants to watch two little guys beat each other up. Oh, okay. So we knew we had to have some haha in the WeeLC match, and it pissed me off, because I just wanted to go to war. But Road Dogg, and I actually asked Finley to be part of the producing of it too. I requested that, and he wasn't doing a lot with us, but he knew how to handle me, which I immediately wanted him aboard for. So it was a huge group effort to make the match what it was.
I can't imagine the chaos of like everyone with a headset during that match.
Yeah.
Because the normal announce team is talking. The announce team specifically brought in for the WeeLC match is talking. And they're all talking to each other. They're commentating on the match. And I'm sure they're all getting stuff from Gorilla.
100% they're getting stuff from the truck, because there's no, like, during it, all the regular, like the normal announcers, Lawler, Cole, and JBL, are like commentating on the match and like saying things about it. And the little guys are just making jokes, which are definitely fed to them from the truck. And I was like, oh, this makes complete sense. I remember watching it back and going, they're not commentating at all. They're just getting things from the truck this whole time. Yeah. But then there's 6 people, like you said, 6 people on headsets. Plus
chaos.
The ref, I don't think the ref had an earpiece, because I think we were just going through the motions the whole time. So I think the ref was just with us. But yeah, I remember being told that earlier in the week, like that they were going to get a small announce team and a small announcer and a small ref, and I was like, oh, I get it. They're making a joke out of it even more. But then I was like, looking back at it, it just made it cooler. Like it did, in all reality, it made it even more memorable. Like it wasn't just a match. They put a lot in. They put a lot into a pre-show match. All the small tables and the small ladders and the big ladders and the small chairs. They put a lot into the match.
So you have Micro Cole, Jerry the Mini King Lawler, who eventually they
Jerry
changed.
The King Smaller.
No, so originally when the match starts, he announces himself as Jerry the Mini King Lawler, and then like halfway through the match, they start referring to him as Jerry Smaller. And then they have WeeBL, who halfway through the match they start referring to as JB Elf. And then you have a referee and a ring announcer. that go unnamed.
Unnamed. Yeah, that was that. That was that. Short Sleeve Samson was he played Micro Cole. I don't know who played Lawler, but then Robbie the Giant from out east, he played WeeBL.
It is everyone just looks like they are having a blast.
I think that's what it was. Even like the regular commentary team, because they knew that they could kind of mess with and get their shit in on the match and on everything. Like there was a clip the other day of the first time Torito had our match, and like Cole and JBL are just making such a shit on it kind of thing. And it is what it is. I get it. It's not a serious segment. It's not to be taken seriously like we took it seriously. And I get that now looking back on it. But man, I would get so pissed off at that stuff. I would get so mad. Like, take us seriously. Like, that's all I wanted to do, and it wasn't. But that was not the place for it either.
I think as the match progresses, you kind of see a shift where all of a sudden everyone's like, "Wow, everyone's doing a lot of stuff in this match," and maybe everyone thought it was going to be like you said before. I think you said it this episode and you said it last episode. Everyone expected it to be a haha match, but then halfway through, everyone's just like, people are doing some really insane bumps here. Like,
yeah. So going to the match, like a little bit, we were planning stuff that I was like, man, I really want to do a power bomb because I've never power bombed anyone to that point. I was like, that would be awesome. I was a huge PWG guy. I loved Liger bombs, but I wasn't going to sit out with it because I was like, I'm just going to power bomb the shit out of him. And that's going to be really, really fun. And I wanted to do the sit off the chair because that was Finley's thing. And I wanted an ode to him. But then like, I remember thinking, and I wanted to take a chair to the face, which now when you watch it back, they do the WWE edit of it.
Yeah, it almost looks like your video lags for a second.
Yeah. It's the WWE edit of it because we did get talked to about that afterwards. I do remember that was like the only thing we got talked to of. Oh, we probably shouldn't have done that. I didn't care, but it was like, because I was just so happy with it. And look, even just the start of immediately just fucking going at it. That's what we wanted. That's how we wanted to kick it off and how we wanted to go, because we had a feeling. I've talked about it in every interview, and I'm probably on this show too. New Jersey is a very heel-based crowd. They're only like second to Chicago. They love being a part of the show. They love booing as much as they can. So we knew it was going to be rough going against that crowd. And I was like, man, let's beat the hell out of each other and hopefully gain their respect, I guess, which is so stupid to even think about. But it's one of those things where that's what we wanted to do and what the goal we wanted to accomplish. And we just went into it. And then I remember like the first haha thing that I can remember is me headbutting Jinder in the balls. Like, I have Torito's tail, he goes through Jinder's legs, and I headbutt him in the nuts. And I was like,
technically the first thing is unintentional haha. Jinder kind of falls on the ref.
Yo, almost kills the ref. Like, the ref just didn't get out of the way, and Jinder almost like squashed him.
Because that wasn't planned, right?
Hell no. No, I remember seeing it and going, oh, okay. But yeah, there was that, and then the headbutt to the groin, and I was like, okay, I knew we had to get that stuff in. And then there was something, I hit Heath in the nuts with the chair because he wanted to go through a 4-stack of mini tables. And I remember after Drew brought up the flip to the outside, Heath goes, yeah, man, I'd like to go through a stack of them. Look at those little tables. They're fun looking. I want to go through them. And I was like, okay. And so we had to have a spot where Heath got hit. And I remember like, I was just going to hit him right in the nuts. And I remember swinging that damn chair just to try to hit him in the nuts.
So I've got a list. I got a list of spots that I wrote out, and I wanted to get your reaction on There's a spot where Torito does the dive through the middle rope to start, in the beginning of the match. Then you go to do one and you bounce off the middle rope.
Yeah, so I wanted to do one too, and you'll see in the payback. We might break this up into 2 episodes again. Who knows? We're going to see how long this
Depends on how long we go.
Yes. But I wanted to do a dive, and I remember them going, can you go for it and like it not work? And I was like, guys, come on. Let me do one. I'm so glad I didn't. I remember wanting to do the dive, and they were like, can you do it where you don't like it doesn't work out? And I was like, fine. And I hate the look of the spot now. Like looking at it now, I hate it because I shouldn't have built it up. I don't know. I don't like it still, but it was funny and it got over, and that's I'm happy about that. That was one of those things where I was like, man, it proved to me how good Torito is. That match and everything he did proved to me that he could literally get to any spot in the ring from a springboard, from a dive, from anything. And he's incredible.
It is everything, every spot in this match. The stuff that you do, the stuff that Torito does, the stuff that, Los Matadores, 3MB, everything feels I think you guys went 11 minutes for how much stuff you guys got in this match. It covers so many bases. Like,
that was another thing. We knew we had a certain amount of time, and I think we had 15 to start. And I was like, and then we got knocked down, and all of that. But then I remember, like, we go, holy shit, we have a lot to get done, and we don't have a ton of time to do it. Let's go crazy. And it was literally, once stuff started happening, I remember it being like, pow, to pow, to pow, to pow, to pow, to pow, immediately, just for the sake of doing it.
So the next spot that I have is Torito takes out a full-size chair from under the ring, throws it away, gets the mini chair. Then you do the same thing with the ladder.
How about when I threw the ladder to the outside? I thought for sure it was going into the front row.
I rewatched it before we recorded it, and I went, where does that go? Because I
tossed it, that. And I remember letting it go and going, oh no, that was a little hot. I remember immediately going, oh no, that's not good.
Oh my God. Yeah, I followed the smaller ladder that you threw instead of watching Heath go under the ring to get the longer ladder. I was just like, okay, now they're going to cut to Heath. And I'm like, all right, now where's that other ladder? Is it still on the outside or is it in the first row? Did someone get a souvenir to take home?
That's my thought. I thought it's going to hit a kid. Like I let go of it. I go, oh no, that's going to hit a kid. Okay.
And then the next year at Access, someone walks up to you with that ladder and they're like, can you sign this ladder that you threw at me?
They walk up to me with their hospital bill.
Talk to me about the Bronco Buster in the corner.
He has only messed that up. I mean, we worked together every house show, every weekend show, TVs, everything. Legit, probably 6 months. International tours, everything. He only messed it up once that I can remember. And that he would go so high in the air and he would like scorpion at times and be able, because he's very, very in shape and he has great core strength, to bring himself back. Even if he was like upside down and overdoing it, he would bring himself back. He only did it once where he had to like adjust on the outside and then pop back in and do it. But man, it was, first off, it's so cool. That Bronco Buster, watching it back again, I mean, he lasted it was a little long of a Bronco Buster. He kept doing it. I was like, okay, I guess we're okay. All right, we're still going. But we did that. That was a thing we did every match. Every match that we wrestled, we did that spot because it's so impressive how he can do it.
Like just thinking of doing the handstand on the buckle and thinking about the fact that sometimes he would scorpion and have to bring himself back. My back hurts just thinking about.
I haven't watched Payback. Did I counter it at Payback? We're going to have to do a part 3. We're going to have to, because I have to watch that match now. Okay. But I know I wanted to counter it, and I wanted to counter it in this one and do the bomb onto the chair. And they were like, let's let him hit at this. Oh, okay, all right, we can do it. But oh, I can remember things for once.
And then we go to the ladder spot that we talked about earlier. You get the smaller ladder, you throw it over the ropes, it goes into the first row. Then Heath gets a larger ladder. You start going up, you pretend to be scared.
So I'm not a that was my idea guy. I didn't have the idea for missing the splash, but they wanted something, haha. And we're talking about it, and everyone's like, jump, 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 jump. And I literally, when we were talking about the match, I go, what if Torito even just gets up and goes, hey, no, come on. And that's what like makes me do it. It's so stupid. It's so dumb, but it worked so good. And I remember like thinking I have to kind of rush this because of the time. And also, I was very worried about standing on top of the ladder because there's nothing to hold on to at that point. I can't really brace myself. I've never stood on the top of a ladder, just on the rungs. And I was like, man, this is going to, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And I was legit, like, my legs were shaking. But it was, that's another one that's so funny that sticks out of like, God, I'm glad we did it. As stupid as it is, I'm so glad we did it. And as against like the haha stuff I'm so glad we did all that stuff because it's so memorable.
It is a nice blend. It's a little bit of both. There are some haha moments, but when it's wrestling and there's like big moves happening, like the next thing I have on my list is the powerbomb because it looks spectacular. Like it is a beautiful looking powerbomb.
If I can finally do something cool, like I just wanted to do cool things because I never got to do cool things. And now I got to do cool things. And it was like, this is awesome. I think that's another reason why I'm so proud of that match is like, I got to actually do wrestling moves and not bite an ass and hit someone in the balls. Like, it was great.
It showed that you can do more than that.
Yeah.
You're more than tadpole splash, more than the ass bite, more than the things that you had been known for your entire run in WWE prior to this.
That was our thing is I just wanted to show up and show out kind of thing. It's so like such a cheesy thing to say, but I
what did you say that you wanted to make them
show up and show out?
No. That you wanted to shove it up their ass. Is that what you said before?
Shove it up their ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
mission accomplished.
Yeah, but I also wanted, like I say, I kept saying a couple times now, I want to do cool things because we finally were able to. It wasn't like hey, you guys are on a backstage segment where you're chasing Torito. Like that, it wasn't that. It was, hey, here's the match, go do it. Great.
Then there's the chair-assisted senton where you use it Sabu style to
springboard
yourself into the senton.
I was so worried I wasn't going to be able, I remember trying it a couple times. I was like, I got it. And the third time I tried it before the show, because it's on the mat, which moves, obviously, I remember it like slid, and I remember Fit going, sure about this one? I go, I can do it. I know I can do it. But I was like, man, I was so worried about getting over the back of the chair. There is zero chance. I think about things in that match that I could, like now. There is zero chance I could do that nowadays. I cannot jump. I cannot step very well. I cannot land on my feet. That's one of the things I realized, like, there's no way I can do that anymore.
What do you think hurts more? Tadpole splash? Or
I don't do the fucking splash anymore.
No,
I haven't done the splash in 5 years.
But what hurts more, the splash or the senton?
Senton, for sure.
I don't know. For some reason, I thought that you would be able to brace yourself more because you're like I could jumping into a squat.
I always landed on my feet on the splash.
Let's talk about the rolling thunder onto the chair.
I hated it. Looking back at it, I'm so pissed off I did it.
Your idea?
I want to say no, but maybe. I don't know on that one. No, that was Fit. Now that you say that was Fit. Fit asked if I could do it. And I knew I couldn't do the flip, so I just had to do a splash. But like my somersault was such shit because I can't do a real somersault because I don't have real legs and I have a big ass head. I just remember seeing it the other day again. I was like, oh, that's so stupid. I don't like that. That's one of the only things in that match I don't like. I think that, to be honest, is probably the only thing in the match I don't like.
Oh, let's talk about a part of the match that is beautiful. The elbow drop off of the apron through the announce table.
Let's talk about this. When I hear that we have a mini commentary team, I go, are they going to be at the regular table? They go, no, there's a mini table. I go, can we break it? And they go, I don't know if we can. I go, we're breaking this mini table, just so you know. And they go, okay, let's go talk to Magic, props department, and make sure that that it's breakable. I go, so Nick Daw, who was the head of the props team at the time, I go, hey, man, he turned into a really good friend and still is to this day. I said, can we make it breakable? He goes, we can do it. I go, let's go. Again, it's one of those scenarios where when would I have a chance in my career to go through a commentary table? And I immediately thought, if it's there, we have to do it. We have to. I was so pumped when we got the okay on it. I was so excited because I was like, this is a moment. Like, this is something that I always think of. Going through a commentary table is so like memorable in all wrestling. Austin and Rock and Angle and Triple H and all of that stuff, where it's such a memorable
it's your
moment.
HBK spot.
100%. That was my spot. That's like my main spot in the match. And it was one of those things where I was like, man, I love it. And I was so happy when we were told that we could do it. And yeah.
Then the next big spot we talked about a little bit earlier is Heath bumping off of the apron post chair shot into the stack of tables.
Again, man, I just want to go through a stack. Okay, Heath. And then watching it back, I hit him and I tried to hit him in the dick. I remember, just to mess with him.
You swing for the fences with that chair.
I remember swinging. And it's such like a delayed. He takes it and then it's like he takes it. And then I literally can count to about 17 in my mind. And then he just jumps. It's like, it's not a take and a bump. It's a take. Oh, man, my balls. And then he jumps through the tables. It's literally what I think about going through his head. Is whack. Oh, man, my balls. And then he just takes it.
There's just something about your Heath impression that gets me. I don't know why.
And then it's like, again, I think that was after the Drew spot, or was it before? I think that was after.
It is before the Drew spot.
It is? Okay.
Because then the next spot is Jinder, Torito.
The huge
big,
like,
through the tables
spot.
and the ladders. And I had to slow down that clip 100 times because I was convinced that Torito just
the ladder,
face
the big ass ladder
into the ladder.
No, the worst is when it flips up on him. So the landing is, so we were trying to figure out how to do it. And I don't even remember, like, I think this was the Matadors going, hey, can we give our finish to someone through some tables? And Jinder was the one who goes, yep, that's me. And I was like, how is this going to work? And why am I climbing? In all reality, it made no sense for me to climb that ladder with Torito. Besides that, like, I might suplex him to the outside. Whatever. I don't care. Setting that stuff up was nuts. Like, they had to set all of that stuff up. So, like, during the match, you'll see people, like, in the match just setting the things up for the next spot. And it's one of those things that you don't notice watching it until you know to look for it, where now you're watching these guys disappear and they're just setting up tables or ladders or chairs. Like,
because it's not like a table or a ladder. It's multiple tables.
That was either 2 or 4 again, and there was a bunch of ladders and a bunch of chairs. Like, it was nuts. But I remember watching from the ladder, because he face plants me on the ladder, and then he hops over me onto Jinder, who's being held by the Matadors. And they go through all the stuff. And I remember watching it from the ladder and then looking behind me, and all I noticed was that top ladder, when Torito lands, flip and land on him. And, like, from my vantage point, he disappeared. And I go, oh, no, he's dead. Like, he's done. It looked crazy from my vantage point because I was up high looking down on it. And I was like, I don't know how we go from here.
It looks just as crazy on the actual match video.
And it was one of those, like, such a memorable, like, I call it like the destruction spot, where it just looks like shit lying around after that. And it was my God, so awesome.
It's wild.
Now we work around to the front of the ring. I put Torito on the table because we take a commercial break here, I think. And I put Torito onto the table. I tell Drew to flip on him. He moves, and there's the Drew just flipping through a table on the outside on his own spot. Because then we go to the finish. Yeah, that's right. I pitched getting Sabu'd with it, with the chair. And they were like, no, we can't do unprotected chair shots. And I was like, damn it, because they knew I wasn't going to put my hands up. Little did they know I wasn't going to put my hands up for this one, and I was just going to take it and get rocked in the head. And I got him here because I know I would get really, really yelled at if I did not put him at all. But man, I ate that son of a bitch, and I was like, yes. And then I remember taking the finish. I specifically remember taking because we set up the little table, and it was still a little high for me to get through. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. But I was like, screw it. We're going to do it. We got to do it because that's going to be the finish. It's going to be the biggest thing in the match, the ending. I remember him landing on me, and then on the video you could see, and I felt that he has a hard time covering me because of the spot we're in. He can't like reach back because he's got little arms and I have little legs. So it's a weird pin. But I remember like taking the bump and literally as he's pinning me, hearing the ref count, and it was one of those moments where everyone in wrestling talks about it. It's done, it's over with, and you just go, oh, that was awesome. Like that was awesome. And I remember laying there and then going, oh shit, now we got to rush to the back because the pay-per-view is going to start, of course. We can't even like take it in really. Get to the back, and it was the only time in my whole career I got a standing ovation. Like everyone in Gorilla. There was a dozen people. Vince. Hunter wasn't in there because he had his match. And so he was going over his match stuff. But Vince, Road Dogg, Fit, Scott Armstrong, a bunch of other producers. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, holy shit. And I remember Fit giving me a huge hug and Road Dogg giving me a huge hug. I went right over to Vince in his corner, and he goes, God damn, that was great. That was awesome. I go, yes. We were able to beat each other up, and it was okay. And just being on cloud nine, legitimately on cloud nine. And then it like takes us, like we go to the locker room and on gearing, I'm just sitting in my gear in the locker room, just like grinning ear to ear. And Torito, I remember Torito's next to me, and he just sees, he said he saw me like in almost like a daze and just looking forward. And he goes, you good, man? I go, I'm very, very good. He goes, you okay? I said, I'm very okay. Okay. And then him and the Matadors, like it must have been an hour later, him and the Matadors are leaving like the building because they're done. They're just leaving the show, going to the next town. And he goes, why are you still geared up? And I go, I'm just taking it all in. He goes, okay, thanks for tonight. And I said, man, thank you. And then, but before that, I remember before that, in my, like, I got to the locker room and I went running to the props department. I said, I need a piece of the table right now. I need a piece of the table. I need it. And they go, why? I said, I want it signed by everyone. Everyone in that match, I want it signed by. Because I was like, I can't get the ladder because I can't get that home and I can't frame that right. So, but I can get a piece of the table and frame that. And I was like, hell yeah, I need that. And I remember getting a piece of it and taking it to everyone and getting it signed. And I have it wherever it is there. I'll send I'll send a photo of it. But it's
we'll splice it into the clip that is, this will inevitably be on social media.
Clip. And then I remember the auction people got one too. They got a piece of it too, and we all signed it. So I was like, this is, because I knew from that moment that this was a special thing. And I knew it was going to be a moment where I was like very, very proud of and very happy with. And I didn't know how amazing it would be going forward. I thought I might do something cooler, and I've not done something cooler and I won't. But it was one of those nights where I was like, man, that was special. And being so happy with it and calling Landon, and he was so young, but him just going, Dad, that was very good. And I was like, sick. Awesome. This is great. Yeah.
Just so you know, the response still to this day, while putting together the notes for this match, so many
positive.
people say this should have been on the main card. This was one of the better matches on the entire pay-per-view, and it was a pre-show match. Like the response and the support for this match,
I talk about
10 years later is still amazing.
Yeah, I talk about it a lot. Like in the past, I got interviewed, and it was like the one like cocky statement I've ever made is people bring up the Evolution street fight or whatever, and that match was good. But I was like, no one walked out of that show not talking about our match compared to Evolution. Sorry, it's shitty to say, but I guarantee people were talking more about the WeeLC match than anything else on that card.
And they're still talking about it today. Like, these are not comments from, 10 years ago. These are comments from like a year or two ago where they're just like, this is still one of my favorite matches. Like,
that's the nuts part of it is Landon brought it up, a month or so ago, or a couple weeks ago, I should say. And he goes, May the 4th, he calls it, and it makes me mad. He goes, May the 4th is 10 years of WeeLC. And I go, no. And he goes, yeah. I looked it up. I go, holy shit. Because it's like, to me, it feels like 30 years ago. And then to me, it feels like yesterday. It's all in one, where it's like, I can remember it. We laugh about it on the podcast and talk about it all the time about my memory and the nope, didn't happen. But that's the match where you can tell me every spot in that match and I remember it. And it's not because like I remember planning it or whatever. It's because it was just perfect. It's the only perfect performance I've ever had.
And you get an action figure to commemorate the match, which is actually technically a 2-in-1 commemorative action figure, because it's also your payback match.
It's a 2-in-1. It's an elite. It's not a basic, which all the 2-packs are basics. They've never been elites. It's an elite. And then the hair removal, and the coolest thing to me is on the back, Landon's handprints are on the back, which it's the first time a kid's name is on an action figure. Like a child's name is on an action figure. I didn't know it, and I didn't know going into it, but we took the photos of it. I remember we took the photos because I had to take the photos of the gear, the 360 shots, and they put it on the figure, and I was like, his name is on the figure, his handprints are on the figure, everything, man, and it's so awesome. Like it's one of those moments where it's like, oh, and then like Hawkins literally got inspired to do the names of his daughters on his arms because of his upcoming action figure. He goes, I want that. I saw Lana's name. I want that for my kids. And I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. So
starting a trend.
Yeah. But then it came with a mini ladder, a mini chair, and a mini table. That 2-pack, it blows my mind. It's so expensive these days.
It's crazy.
It's so expensive. I was selling them for $20 when I got released. $20 I was selling them for on my merch.
Currently listed on eBay, $170.99, $149.99.
Yeah. I'm literally, thanks to the Major Pod, making figures cool again, and like just, man, it's the best. It's the best figure. It's my favorite figure I've ever had of me.
Do you have any loose, or you have yours loose, or you have in package still?
I have one in my case. I think I have another one. I think I have 2 loose, and I think I have 2 in box. I definitely have 2 in box. I have one in my me shelf that Landon put together, and then I have another one in case in a tote. So
right,
it's yeah, that match, man. That's people talk about like defining moments of their career, and the crazy part is that's my defining moment, I feel. But also, if you look at it, it's so late into my run. It's very, very late into my run.
It's the first time you were really given a moment to
wrestle. Yeah.
To do what you wanted to do.
Yeah. But that's what's kind of crazy to me is like, I guess my defining moment maybe would have been the Mania match or the Vince's Son thing. But I think my defining moment was that match. And it's kind of nuts because it's like, it was heartfelt. It was after a time where I was so down and so just depressed and just hating everything about life. And then I have that out of nowhere, kind of. And then it's like, after that and after the payback, it was back to nothing. And then my eventual release. So it was very late into my run to have my moment. But man, very, very happy with it. I'm very. It's the one match that I can when I'm done. That's the one I can hang my hat on and be like, hey, remember when I did something really, really cool? Which I'm gonna watch Payback because I like the Payback match just as much because we did some really, really cool things and like out of the box things. But man, that WeeLC match, you ain't. I want someone to argue that against anything, and I'll put it up there.
You make a good case for it. I mean, the match itself, so many people talk about it. It is still brought up constantly in spaces that you're not even there. It's one thing to be talking to you and have people be like, all right, Dylan, talk to me about WeeLC. But I know people who bring it up just because the match itself is, for a lot of people, that's kind of when they started getting back into wrestling. Like people around our age that maybe had fallen off now starting to get back into it because there was like a big upswing in wrestling, like where it was like kind of getting back into the lines of like all these things were happening with NXT and all the older generations were kind of getting back into
it again. Yeah, wrestling started to become cool again, and I was part of that. I wasn't part of it. This match was during that upswing and that coolness.
If you're there and you're having matches, Dylan, you were part of it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think it stands out because it was during that part. You know what I mean? And fuck, man. I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm very, very happy about the match. I'm very happy about the match. And I have nothing negative, but it's also such like a thing to look back on and go, God damn, I wish I felt better to this day. Like, I wish my body worked, because it's almost like, man, I would love to there's no recreating that magic. There isn't. I will never. And I think I speak for everyone. We did a watch along. You can actually watch it on WWE's YouTube page.
That's the next thing that's in my list. July 12th, 2018, WWE Playback 3MB reunites to watch WeeLC.
Talk about something I didn't expect, man. Like, I never expected to get that call of, hey, we want to do a watch along. And I remember doing it on my bedroom floor just because it was like the most comfortable, and I didn't have like a good setup. So I just put my phone on my floor because they wanted to do it from the phone. It was very weird. But man, that was cool for them to do too. And that was cool for them to like put a spotlight on and recognize how impactful that match was for everyone. And then you have Heath still being a star. Shortly after that, Drew and Jinder get released, which we'll go into in the next episode. But look at what Drew's done. Look at what Jinder's done. It's just, it's crazy, man. And I'm so glad Heath had to go overseas, and he wasn't there for the 6-man, so I could wear his pants and just start this whole thing off.
And are those the Heath pants in WeeLC?
Yeah, because then I got my silver ones for the next one. I wore those Heath pants. So there, I just went through my tote of my gear, and they're like black now. They were worn so much. There is no copper to them anymore. They're all black. That jacket, it was just a vest. It was in my closet for like, I remember I got it from the Buckle, and I would actually wear that out and about. And I was like, oh man, I need Chuck Taylors.
You were ahead of the time, man.
No, it was.
I feel like everyone's got that kind of jacket now.
It was a thing then. It was the Affliction era, the Affliction and Ed Hardy era. It was you'd wear that over a sweet tribal T-shirt, and but I just had that the other day. Yeah, it's. I remember that gear, and that was like, I need a vest. Oh, you know what the vest started? I wore it to TV that week. That's where it started. Yeah, I wore it to TV that week, and I just did it without a shirt on. That's what it was. And yeah, man, I'm happy. Talking about this match, here's a very Dylan-ism. Talking about that match is the one thing that makes me like smile about my, like, no matter what about my WWE run, talking about that match, I'll never not like smile inside about. It's a very weird feeling, man. It's very weird for me. I'm very negative about me. And so to be able to be positive about something, it's very, very odd feeling. And it really shouldn't be. It's very unhealthy, guys.
I hope that this podcast, at the very least, gives you
it's therapy.
Not even therapy, gives you a sense, like when we've done it all and we've covered every aspect of your career up until the point that we started doing this podcast, and we're like, hey, Going Postl has had its run, we're going to stop doing this show. I hope that at a certain point you get to look back at everything that you did and just be like, holy shit, I've had a hell of a career. Like, I know you won't, because you're the biggest fucking pessimist I've ever met in my entire life. But
what's the thing I hear almost daily? What angry, argumentative thing are you going to say today?
So there's a PodXchange group chat. It is Dylan, myself, Joe Shoes, and Johnny Clash. And Dylan just goes, guys, and we all just go, what's Dylan mad about today? Like there was someone always says, what's Dylan mad about today?
Shoes called me out the other day. And I was being genuine, but Shoes called me out the other day. You're just saying, no, Caruso did. He goes, you're just saying this to get me mad and to argue. I said, no, it's actually how I feel. He goes, bullshit. You're just trying to argue. You can't actually feel this way.
Because sometimes it does feel that way with how strongly you argue, like certain, like specific topics that like your opinions on Pringles. Like no one should be this mad about Pringles.
Shoes calls me the Cartman of the group chats. Like I just come in, shit on something, and leave.
But you shit on it like it has wronged you in a way. Like Pringles owes you money.
But that's how the hot takes started, man. That's how the hot takes started.
And now you have a whole podcast of hot takes.
It pisses me off so much that it ruins my day. Easy things ruin my day. I can think about something that like is really, really argumentative to me, and it pisses me off so much. Fucking DoorDash should not, if they're gonna give you a time, and they're gonna give you a by this time at the latest, it shouldn't be past that. Don't fucking put a time. Don't put a time then. Don't put it. It should be here at latest. Don't fucking put that. I can spit on Buffalo Wild Wings from my house. I'm pretty sure. There's no if this is bullshit New York, that's traffic. I get it. But if this is Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
I've never met someone who hates New York as much as you do. But has so many friends who are from New York.
Because they're insane. Because they're not well-minded people when they think about where I want to live. It's mind-blowing as you can go, hey, I really want to drive 10 miles. It could take a half hour, it could take 2 hours. I have to leave 2 hours early. But then I arrive an hour and a half early, so I got to go to the goddamn the gas station or go to the mall. No, I don't know when to leave. So now you either arrive really, really early or just on time. It's
Dylan Postl now accepting any and all bookings in New York.
I love it. I love going out there for a day. When I took Landon out there for 2 days, it was an incredible time. We got to see a lot of fun things. I got to show him the city. I don't know how people go, man, I'm gonna live out here. I don't get it. And this now is gonna bother me all day. You did this. You did this. This is gonna bother me all day. Once again.
Wait.
These are the things.
Pick one. What's gonna bother you all day? New York, DoorDash, because you brought up DoorDash.
DoorDash will piss me off.
DoorDash, Fritos, Pringles.
DoorDash is gonna piss me off more than anything. Because I wanted DoorDash last night.
You did that.
And then, I wanted it. That is partially my fault.
You brought it up. You can't put that. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
It came to mind. I can't hold in my feelings. This is therapy. Guys, thanks for staying along for the ride. This is, again, I've said it all episode. This is the one match where I can really, really talk about and enjoy it. What are your thoughts? What did we do that was cool in it? What stands out We want to hear from you in the comments and on social media at Going Postl Pod. Let's hear from
Dylan
you.
Postl.
At Dylan Postl. Tag me. Tag the show. I want to hear what you guys like, the memories of it, like seeing it for the first time. Going into it, did you have bad or good expectations? Were they different? Was the match, did it change your expectations and your thoughts on the back end? Let's hear your thoughts. Yeah, we want to hear your thoughts on everything. At Going Postl Pod, at Dylan Postl. But George, hit him with your plugs.
Well, I want to let everyone know that we are, in fact, going to be doing a part 3 to 3MB. We'll be covering Payback 2014 from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. We'll be breaking down that match along with the final run of all things 3MB, which ends what? Slater Gator? Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Want to get me pissed off. Want to get me fired up.
I mean, it happens every episode regardless of whether or not I want it to. So
yeah, there's I'm going to talk very highly. We got to do the third episode because I'm going to talk very, very highly of the Payback match and all of that. And then kind of the crumble of 3MB. And then they put me through some bullshit, even with the hair stuff, when they cut the hair and then having me dressed as a cow and then putting me in the gator outfit and then trying to force me, we'll talk about it, trying to force me to wrestle in the gator outfit on a house show and me yelling at Arn Anderson. That's a story. That's something I never thought I would have to or have done. That's the next episode.
But before we go, we want to remind everyone, Dylan plugged it so perfectly before, but on all forms of social media at Going Postl Pod, at Dylan Postl, free video versions of this podcast and Dylan's other podcast with Captain Joe Shoes, State of Affairs, are available on youtube.com/Dylan Postl, DylanPostl.com for all things Swoggle, and ProWrestlingTees.com/Swoggle for all of the shirts for this podcast, Swoggle's other podcast with Joe Shoes, and what else? Your shirts, this pod?
My shirts,
State of Affairs,
pod.
all shirts.
George, what else do you have going on?
In addition to this podcast, I host another one. It is myself and former Creative Pro champion Johnny Clash, but on this podcast, we like to call him
so
a little quick on the draw there, bud. But it's called the Game Marks Podcast. We cover a different wrestling video game each and every week, and our goal is to play them all. So we would appreciate if you joined us, and you can follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. But guys, we appreciate you joining us for this episode. We hope you have fun. We hope you'll join us for the next one, 3MB Part 3. And as always, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you choose to listen. And that's it. That's all we got for this episode. Dylan, whenever you're ready.
This is where I talk, so it focuses on me at the end.
He's learning.
Thanks, guys. Guys, let's talk about Mad Cat Beard Care. They make my beard feel soft, silky smooth, and they can do the same for yours. A one-man show since 2019, Mad Cat uses a portion of their sales to care for local stray cats. That money covers their medical bills and finds them safe spaces and forever homes. Their products are made to order with vitamins and all-natural oils that promote strong, healthy hair and moisturize your skin as well. They've got exclusive scents for myself, as well as other wrestlers like my good pal Brian Myers, Mr. Kennedy, and Ring of Honor legend Delirious. Make sure to check out all of their scents, along with my Swoggle scent, which has notes of lavender and sage. I absolutely love this scent. And guys, we've got an exclusive offer for listeners of Going Postl. Use promo code SWOGGLED to save yourself 15% on your orders only at madcatbeardcare.com. That is Swoggled with a D on the end to save yourself 15% on your orders at madcatbeardcare.com. Guys, that's 15% with promo code SWOGGLed. And remember, the Mad Cat makes a happy beard.